Welcome to PAO Fans International. You're joined by Nick and myself. We will be having the Akundas join us shortly in Panatha fans' absence. Nick, welcome.
Good to be on after a win. I've forgotten the feeling.
It's
And always good to do it over the Khanumya, our Athenian, like this inverted commas, rivals. And good to see that man in goal, that in both our photos, ship three.
yeah, we
Couldn't
didn't
have happened to a better guy.
plan it either. We didn't plan it, but yeah, it's been a strange feeling because last week we talked about the doubts, everything, and obviously there are doubts when we discuss the match, but we did come off a win in both sports. So the FC and BC, even the BC had a tough opponent, and we got a big road win there as well. So, and we had concerns, obviously, and what the concerns were, they were pretty much addressed. Let's get straight into it with the FC side. So earlier today, Panathinaikos played AEK in game two of six in the Super League playoffs, the championship. We had known that PAOK had beaten Olympiacos earlier 2-1, which means we had momentarily dropped to fourth place with PAOK that had jumped us, but all to play for versus AEK. We beat them 3-1. The scoring happened. We opened up the scoring in the 17th minute through Maximovic. There was an overlapping run by Vianidis, whipped in inch perfect cross to Swideski, whose header was saved, and he just pushed it into the path of Maximovic for the finish. Just want to make a note of that. Maximovic is, another goal there. That's his third of the season, and we've seen him really making those runs, those follow-ups as well. We'll discuss it more in the as we talk more. We led 1-0 at half time. We had a disallowed goal for offside when Swideski mistimed his run. Um, Straight away from the break, Ike equalized off the corner. Almost similar circumstances where they swung in the cross. I believe it came off the crossbar, and Mugudi in the 47th minute um, pretty much got the rebound into the almost like unopposed into an empty net. Um, Things were looking pretty bad at that point. I had a couple of big chances. Then Jurisic gave us the lead back in the 80th minute. Mladenovic found himself wide with plenty of time. Uh, I think all the eight players were waiting for a cross in, but he just played the short pass to Jurisic, who was just inside the box, near the corner. Placement into the far side, and beat Brignoli. Wasn't a powerful shot. It was just well placed. And then the icing on the cake in the 88th minute, Jeremejeff scored that one. It was just I think it was the high press, won the ball. Palistri with space just fed Jeremejeff for the tap in. Just in an empty net. Just yeah. How do you see the game?
Delighted with the result. And that's all that matters at this stage of the year. You just want to limp to the finish line and get that second spot no matter what. And we're not going to harp on about the significance of it because we've done that for weeks on end now. However, with the performance, we can't say we're delighted. I'd like to know if it was by design, if that was deliberate to sit back and let Ike dictate proceedings again and control the game, have the lion's share of possession, have more chances and all that comes with it. Because in the regular season game, this game followed a similar pattern to that, albeit with more goals in this one. Um, Look, what I'm trying to say is if we play like this against Bulk, I'll fear the worst. Even a draw, we'll be up against it to get a draw. But at this stage, all you want is the results. And hopefully, these 3 points gives us a psychological boost that we so desperately need to carry that forward into the next game, which is even more important now and even bigger against the informed team of the playoffs. Bulk, man of the match in this game, you could take it in so many different angles. I mean, the club gave it to Jurisic, and I can see why. I think that that's fair to an extent because if he doesn't come on and contribute, I don't think we win the game. Like his goal was essentially the match winner. As you said though, savable. I thought Brignoli could have done a lot better to save that, and it was almost identical to the chance he had against Fiorentina in the first leg. The Fiorentina one, he hit the post and it went out. If that went in, we probably would have gone through against Fiorentina as well, but that's a discussion for another day. Balistri also very good. Maximovic very good. And as for the first goal, Maximovic has a habit, as you said, you addressed it already. He anticipates the play well and he stays alive no matter what. He does it for club and country. He scored an international break for Serbia, very similar to this, and we've seen him do it before for us. Vayanidis also very good in his 100th appearance for the club. That's great to see as well as a side note. The only one now from our academy in the squad, and to have 100 games is remarkable. And I was going to say hopefully many more, but we'll wait and see what comes in the future there with the transfer rumours. I was shocked that he started Dragovski in this one. I was expecting Lodigin to start. Our back line, it's not that I mentioned AEK had the possession and the chances. In saying that, I don't think our defence was put under much pressure. Like they didn't get in behind us. Our centre backs looked comfortable for the most part. AEK had their big chances of set pieces, which is a worry to an extent because when Victoria came in, he was all about set pieces, as in attacking and defending them. And we've got to do better to defend the set pieces. It's the second balls and the want and desire there. We've got to get tighter in these two games coming up against PAOK that are going to dictate everything. That they're poor. Unai, as we were saying just before we started recording, Unai very, very bad, as in really, really bad. And it's a shame because last week after the Olympiacos loss, he was the one that came out and said, we got to understand that we're playing for a big club and derbies and all that. They're not just won by tactics. It's about effort and desire. And then he dishes that shit up. Mandalos, a veteran Mandalos in his mid-30s, ran rings around him. And that probably played a role in us not being able to control the game, the lack of possession. Other than that, that's about it. Look, happier that we went this way formation-wise. Not that I'm opposed to the three at the back that we saw against Olympiacos in the first game of the playoffs, but the back three for me needs a lot of work, as in a lot of pre-season work and practice, and probably another signing, like another centre-back has to come in. And our whole recruitment drive in the off-season was spending big on two right wingers. And with the back three, you have neither of them starting. So we went back something to more that works for us, and we saw it pay off eventually in this game. But just, yeah, as I said, above all, delighted to get the win because wins matter now at this stage of the season. And that meant in both our photos, Zuri sits, again, major contribution and arguably now heading into play of the season territory.
Arkundas, welcome. How do you see the A game?
Yeah, hi guys. Sorry I'm a little bit late. But yeah, no, excited to discuss. Look, in terms of the game, uh, obviously delighted to get the win. You know, it really made my day. But I think especially at 1-1, we were really up against it. You know, he was called upon, he had to make some really big saves. We were ropey, we looked disjointed. It just, I think we started okay and stuff. We got the goal. Obviously, off a loose ball that Maximovic attacked and headed it in. I feel like the goal for AEK was kind of coming ever since then. And I just think in set pieces, as you were saying, Nico, we're so messy right now. You kind of need to set up with these set pieces and say, all right, you have him, I have him. Everyone needs to mark a man and stick to that man. Whereas it feels like we're almost doing it zone-wise, which is just crazy. I mean, last time we played AEK, it was a bit similar. They were, they had chances from set pieces. And it was, again, the same thing today. we couldn't get rid of the ball, and was it Mukudi? I think. Yeah, he just smacked it in, and there you go, 1-1. And then with 1-1, we were, I mean, as you said, Tete and Unai today, they're normally my boys, but oh my gosh, they were bad. Um, Pelistri, look, I feel like every time the guy plays and starts, he gets man of the match. He was man of the match in my books. Didn't really put a foot wrong, always energy. I think he's showing that he's, a very competent player and, he's young, so it's one to be excited about. But obviously, Jurisic changed the game, came on, scored, bit of a weird. I thought Brignoli definitely could have done better there to save it. But, then really, really nice move for the third goal. Again, Pelistri involved and Jerry finished it off. But yeah, look, at this point, we scored 3 goals. Um, we were clinical. We won the match against AEK, which is really big because I'm pretty sure that means now we are 2-1 against them.
Yes, we have
So
the head
yeah,
to head.
so we have the head to head. So technically, a draw in Hagia Sophia would mean we actually have the head. So that's really good because I think we've struggled against AEK before and stuff. I think this is the first time in I don't know how many years that we've beaten them twice at home. I don't know, but it feels like it's been the first time in a couple of years at least. Um, so yeah, no, I think performance wasn't great. I'd be lying if I said it was great, but as you said, it's about getting over the line. But with that being said, I'm very scared about the game against PAOK, to be completely honest. They are, I know we beat them in Greece, in Athens earlier in the season, but A, we were in a very good moment then. B, they were not. Now they are playing really, really well. They seem to have found their feet. Konstantelias is playing, we saw him for the Ethniki, how good he was. And now, it feels like he's scoring every game. The way they play and stuff and their attack, I'm very worried. I'll be honest. But yeah, that's pretty much how I saw the game.
Yeah, the optimist in me is going to tell you not what you want to hear. Well, I think it was actually a very bad performance. That was one of our worst performances of the season. And we got the win. It was just really bad. If you look at the key stats in the match, not looking at the score, you'd think we'd be on the losing end, and it was just bad. I had what, 20 plus shots, more possession. Just they had the field position, they had the bigger chances as well. There was a couple of big moments that Dragowski did have. He also was a bit shaky in the first half where I think he flapped at a ball. And there was just like bad communication between him and the defense where he just flapped at the ball and you just thought it's just going to be one of those days today. The team just, Nick, you said it, looked disjointed. There just looked to be no fight. And I think that's the issue when you play Tete and Unahi, they're not the players that are going to come, hustle, and fight. Jurisic hustles for the ball, comes, fights for the ball. We see Pelistri doing a lot of running, a lot of tracking back, winning the ball high up as well. He's good for the high press. He hustles back as well. And in these playoffs now, it's all derbies. There's no more artists and one more token team where you can probably mix it up a little bit. In these derbies, you got to get guys that need to fight and win for the ball. You're not going to get a huge defensive effort from Tete and Unahi, so maybe playing both might be a bit risky at the same time. We saw Unai come into the 10 role, and it was a big fail. I don't like him in that 10 role. I even forgot at times he was on the field. He was very anonymous. Um, it was just bad. Um, Also, for those that use SofaScore, please do not take the score, this player ratings as Bible. They gave Vayanidis a 6.3, which is just ludicrous. Vayanidis was one of the better players on the field for us. And it's also to be noted that he had a few scouts watching him from Sporting, I know, and a couple of other clubs. I believe from Holland, the Ajax. So he's getting look-ins, and he did himself well by any of this. Um, for me, Palishi was man of the match. I know I've got the picture, but it's just trolling the stupid face that Brignoli's pulled off there with an easy shot that he could have saved. But um, yeah, but there was a moment that everything changed. Um, if you look at the stats, you look at the heat map, everything like that, you look at the um just like the momentum, it really looked like that like we're just gonna dominate us. But I was looking for this. I'll show you the moment where pretty much that all changed. Um And I can point to one specific moment as well, and that's if you're watching on Spotify or YouTube, you'll be able to see this image. Um, you can see that in the photo here that yeah, look, I had pretty much all the momentum, and this part here was when the subs were made. That's when he brought on Jurisic, and that's when he brought on Teran for Tete and for Unahi. He switched Palistri. No, he kept Palistri. He switched Palistri to the right wing, and he put Jurisic on the left. And look at that. Look what occurred after those subs were made. It was just all us. So you can see that it was a bad performance. I don't think it was the coaching, really. It was, I think, the player attitude. I think it was just the mindset of the players. For me, when I was watching the game, it looked like the players had given up. There was just a sense that they had given up. But, you're right, Nick, and I was going to make that point. Unahi, the week before, is talking about you got to fight, the stature of the club, everything like that. And he goes anonymous. You had Maximovic fighting, you had
The
Juris
Serbs,
coming
the
on.
Serbs.
Yeah, the Serbs, the contingent, the trio, they all were the fighters.
Who would have thought, eh? It's crazy. Yeah, at this stage of the season, it's the three Serbs that are holding us together. The most passionate. I would not have seen it coming, especially with Jurisic and Mladenovic this stage of the season.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for me, Maximovic is the one that's showing overall leadership. Even he came out after the game and said, "We are the ones at fault for where we are in terms of placing, what's gone on in the season. Our aim is to get that second place. We owe it to Panathinaikos. So you know that win does, as you said, put us into second place now. We do have the tiebreaker over AEK with the 3-1 win. Now, the thing with that is, I think we've got a one goal better than them as well in the tiebreaker. So if we go to, or when we go to Opapo Arena, it's imperative that we don't lose, or
Yeah.
especially lose big as well. As it stands, Olympiacos is on 63. We are on 53. Ike is on 53. Bulk is on 52. So we know that the second place is up for grabs by the three clubs. Olympiacos can win the title with a,
One win.
a
One
win,
win.
and they've got Ike. A win pretty much seals the title. A draw
And,
delays it. So not
and
really.
as stupid as it sounds, we want them to win next week.
And they did
Yeah.
me favors by losing to PAOK.
My only hope is it sounds a bit stupid, but we obviously have them the last game at home, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So that will probably be a bit of a meaningless game for them. Obviously, it's still going to be a derby and stuff, but I'm hoping that if we need it for second or third or whatever, we'll fight for it and get it. But to be honest, right now the team I feel like I can see us finishing above. They're a weird team this year.
Yeah.
And Martial, is he how long is he out for?
There's no timeline yet on his injury.
Because he's a really key player for them. I think we've seen that. I saw a stat saying like PRO scored like twice since November and Kita hasn't. So that's pretty clear that he's key for them. But PAOK is the team I fear by far the most. They're
Yeah.
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 And
It's crazy though.
with how it stands, if we beat PAOK, which we have in Athens this season, we are pretty much, and Olympiacos beats AEK, we're about 75-80% chance to wrap up second. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah. I think 4 points from the next two games against Bulk almost does it. 80-90%.
That's a big if.
Yeah. No, and getting 4 points against this Bulk team is going to be very hard.
That's a big if, yeah.
Yeah.
Not going to be easy at all. It's crazy to
Uh,
think these guys have come out of nowhere. I thought they were nailed on for fourth. I thought we'd
Same.
be eight for
I,
second.
I'm kind of like putting my expectations very low for these two games, to be honest, because I feel like, right, like for example, last night with Ike, I expected a draw or something, because now I want my expectations to be low so like I can feel much
Yeah.
happier when they exceed them. To be honest, I'm expecting 1 point from these next two games. If I'm being dead honest, I think I think we're actually gonna have a weird reverse. I think we might lose in Athens and then have a scrapey
Mm.
draw in Dubai.
It happens in this fixture.
Victoria hasn't lost against them yet, if we want to look at the positive, but they are probably the most informed team. They're probably, yeah, and it's hard to disagree because Sandelias now is finding form, so he's someone that is obviously we got to look out for. He can really do the damage against us, and Bok is typically good at set pieces, scoring from set pieces. They're big men getting up for him, so
And counterattacks.
Yeah.
we got to be careful of your Despotovs and your Zivkovic. Zivkovic has a knack of scoring against us because we leave him too loose. And yeah, look, we beat Bulk. We've easily got the tiebreaker over them because it's two wins and a draw. So if it goes head to head, at the end, that's the positive part. So we play them in Athens first, Athens, Greece. So they got to travel to Greece for that, and yeah, it's not going to be an easy game. Definitely not. We know the history. We know Lucescu, everything like that. He will have his players fired up for this one.
Carlos. Did you see him today, Lucescu, Angalies with Mendilibar? But next week, when he comes to AEK, no doubt he's gonna reference that cup final. No doubt. He's gonna find every other trick and excuse in the book as well.
Yeah, yeah. But the thing that he does is he does take the heat off his players and just puts it all on himself. As much of a whinger, he likes to blame Athens, everything like that. He does take the heat off his players and just any distractions away from anything like that. Well, we're probably going to have another week of chatter amongst our players because the performance was not great, and we're questioning how on earth did we get 3-1 win.
We deserve it though. As in, how many times have we been on the receiving end of that?
Yeah.
Where we dictate proceedings, have the chances, and we lose. So karma in that sense, but definitely agree with both you guys. We need to up the levels big time to get a draw even against Bulk at AEK. But yeah, 11 wise, we're down to we're still down to bare bones. I can't. Bakasetas won't be back, so we're gonna have to stick with Unai as a 10.
Was there a time you can put Seren there? Seren came in.
Yeah, or you do
Actually,
Unai
you
and
called that
Sharon
out well.
together. That's what I was thinking.
Setting came on and made an impact today.
Yeah, we've had the a lot more of the ball, and the momentum, a lot more possession, a lot more calm. It was controlled when Seren came on.
The back four, I think, is definitely going to be the same.
It won't, yeah, it's going to be an
The
unchanged.
keeper, yeah, yeah. Siopis will definitely be there. Maximovic will definitely be there.
And you know what? I'd have to, if I'm Rui, I start.
Felicity Jurisic.
Yeah. And the good thing is Forty comes back, and I think Forty's going to play a big part as well in this. There's been a lot of talk about Forty's disappointing year this year. Let Swideski start, etc. But yeah, there's barely a peep about how Swideski performed. If that was Forty that performed like that today, I guarantee you, Forty would have copped a caning online for that performance. So
There would have been another altercation outside the stadium.
yeah, yeah. So look, I'm glad that Forty will be back. We're gonna need players that are fighting. He showed that fight against Olympiacos. We need everyone fighting. Swideski's gonna fight as well. I'm not gonna say,
He'll be motivated against his old side.
yeah, he'll be
That's
up.
what I was thinking.
He'll be up for it. But we need to go with our leaders. You need Forty there. I wish. Yeah, we don't know the status of Bakasetas yet. He still wasn't on the match sheet as at all, so that's one to look out for. But you know, we need to win because we found out our possible opponents if we finish second and for the Champions League qualifications. And if you look at that list, it's not that strong in that second round. The teams that came out in the second round will be seeded as well at this point for the second round of the Champions League qualifications. Uh, as it stands, the seeded teams are Rangers, Victoria, Pleasant from the Czech Republic, and Panathinaikos, and the possible opponents would be Servette from Switzerland, Brann from Norway, and Austria Wien. So all those clubs are beatable. Very
Do you
beatable.
say Rapid Wien?
Yeah.
No, they're rivals.
The Austria Wien, they're rivals.
They're worse,
Purple.
I assume,
Purple.
no?
Yeah. And after
So
that,
that's the most difficult there, I'd say.
yeah. And in the third round, if we progress from the second round, we won't be seeded. And the possible opponents, depending on where they finish, it could be Sporting or Benfica, Club Bruges, who are beatable, but we don't have a good record against Belgium teams. That's the only concern.
I don't think Benfica is. I think Benfica there is a disaster. I don't see how. Porto maybe because they're actually like. I don't know
Auto,
if any of you saw, but Pavlidis actually scored a hat trick against Porto yesterday.
yeah,
But
Auto won't qualify for Champions League. It's just
yeah,
between Sporting and Benfica for the title, and that's that Champions League spot. Feyenoord and Rangers. So
Rangers are in all sorts.
these are difficult teams though. You know, if we don't, if unless we improve, like right now, do you? I don't see us beating any of those teams you just
Feyenoord and
mentioned.
Rangers, yes.
Bruges would be a nightmare for us. Nightmare in capitals.
Yeah,
Rangers have had a stocking season though.
I
Rangers is beatable.
Yeah.
and we've got good record against Scottish teams, and I'd fancy Feyenoord as well. They're pretty they're not performing well in the domestic league.
I'm not a fan of the
Pace.
Dutch teams. I always worry about the Dutch teams.
But we got Ajax who's leading by 9 points, and we beat Ajax away.
True, but I think wait, so where are Feyenoord second?
Feyenoord sitting third, 14 points adrift.
Yeah, fair enough, but we'd have to really reinforce the roster, in my opinion. I
And
think,
there's no doubt about it. If we make Champions League, if we finish second, there's a stronger chance we'll reinforce with a bit better, trying to
yeah,
prepare a run.
because right now, if you tell me, all right, Panathinaikos against Feyenoord, I'm not backing us. No way, you know.
No, I think,
But yeah, in due time, possibly, we need to make sure we keep Vittoria though, because he's had in my opinion, we have obviously we had a spark under him. We've kind of plateaued and fallen off a bit, but I like a lot about him. I like him tactically. He seems like a good guy and stuff, and I think he deserves another season.
Yeah.
He
But
deserves
I think
three
we're gonna.
seasons.
I
That's
think
what
we're
he
gonna get rid
deserves.
of him.
If we finish
If you had
third,
to tell me honestly, he won't be our manager next season.
we finish second or third, there's no doubt that he will be our manager.
But the thing
Yeah.
is, we could also finish fourth. And what if he wasn't there also talk about him leaving, like resigning or like another like Saudi things like that?
Rumors.
I think
Rumors. Nothing rumors.
yeah, I think that's just rumors. I think that's just
Well,
clickbait stuff.
Fourth, fourth, he's gone. I'd say 99.9% he's gone.
But I think that
Second,
would be a mistake.
yeah, I agree. Second, he definitely stays. Third, he's up in the air.
And
Third, we start later, as in we get an extra fortnight longer for preseason, but we don't start from Champions League. It will be Europa League. So
yeah,
you want to start as high up as possible.
yeah, give me Champions League
Yeah.
qualification any day. And
We said it before.
the ultimate,
Ivan's team that almost got there, was no way on paper it's better than this current team.
no.
On paper.
And
Yeah, but we were in a very. I think we forget we started that season that first month.
Yeah.
We looked incredible. I remember it was basically
Good
we were
coaching
winning.
will do that.
Yeah, but we were winning like the season before. We were always scraping wins, but
Yeah,
I feel like I
1-0,
remember we played against Ceres. It was a few other teams. Maybe at Tromitos, we beat
5-0,
them
Athenian,
5-0.
5-0.
We beat those teams 5-0. We beat Villarreal. We
Marseille.
Marseille, even against Braga, we were really good over those two legs. Even in Athens, I was at the game. We played really well. We deserved to win that game.
But that's what a lot can go on in a preseason. It's what you're saying, Chris.
but
You get second the investment and a preseason with Victoria, and stranger things have happened.
a lot could go wrong as well because if we finish fourth and somehow Olympiacos do not win the cup, we got no Europe either. So that's the other possibility.
What about, hold on, but doesn't fifth get Europe this year as well?
That's right. That's right. Fifth will get
Conference league,
conference.
and then the cup winner gets the Europa spot. So if
So
Don't
even
forget,
if we finish fourth
yes,
we're out.
and Olympiacos do not win the cup, we're
No Europe.
actually so Aris could get Europe over us.
Yes.
and Orphe.
Wow. Okay.
That's
Yeah. No,
they designed it.
finishing fourth because genuinely wouldn't shock me if we finish fourth if Olympiacos bottle the final against Offi. Genuinely
Yeah.
wouldn't shock me.
But the thing is,
Exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
on their 100 years, I don't think that will happen. But stranger things have happened, so that's why fourth has to be avoided at all costs.
I think we should avoid. I'm hoping we'll avoid fourth. I think second is PAOKs. I think they're just they're really in form right now. But I think hopefully we should manage to finish above.
Well, they have two games coming up against Olympiacos. I know Olympiacos has essentially all but nothing to play for, but you'd like to think that they take 0 wins there. They get one
Oli
point.
owns Ajax.
Exactly. You think they get 1 point at most. At most.
And the thing is, there's bad blood between the two clubs. So obviously, Olympiacos wants to wrap up the title, and then they just want to inflict more pain to them as well. There's been a bit of bad blood over the last year or so. Well, not year, last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Especially with Melissanidis and stuff like
Obviously, Ajax arrogance, Olympiacos not really performing as well. That's all played parts. But yeah, so we've covered a little bit of the footballing part. Obviously, we know what's at stake. With the bulk game coming up, that is, didn't just get the time. That's going to be Sunday night in Greece. That's a 7 local time, and yeah, check your local times, what time it's going to start in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. It's going to be a 2 a.m. game Monday morning. In Greece, it's a 7.
Alia Pitihia.
That sure is. our remaining 4 games either kick off at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m.
Yeah, this is the last 2 a.m. and then the rest are 3 a.m. for those in Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Yeah, not fun. But yeah, so 7 o'clock local time in Greece and then 8 p.m. the rest of the games. America, London, you guys work it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, we know what's at stake. We got bulk and then obviously the Easter break, then bulk again. So we know what's at stake. We know a win here will, yeah, as I said, 75 to 80% chance we get to qualify for the Champions League. We get that second spot, dependent obviously on Olympiacos beating AEK, but it's about 75 to 80%. Who's would be 4 points
We'd
ahead of
also have the tiebreaker of the PAOK then as well, if because
yeah.
we've already beaten them once and
And,
they haven't beaten us yet.
and we'd be 4 points clear of them, and we'd be three ahead of AEK with the tiebreaker as well. So yeah, keep mindful of that. Let's change tune now to the basketball where we played the EuroLeague game. Um, we played Marseille and we beat them on the road.
Must.
Not Marseille,
No,
sorry.
no.
Monaco, 88 to 76. Um, Big road win. Last week we talked about it on here that we were scared about the slow starts that we had, and we're playing catch up, especially in the fourth quarter. The basketball team changed tune after listening to our pod and got off to a quick start. They won that first quarter. It was like 33-21 or something. I thought
Mm.
32-21 looking at it. Kendrick Nunn on fire, 37 points. He was perfect from 3 point range as well, 5 out of 5. Jerry and Grant played amazing as well. Everyone did their role. But it was a big road win and a big statement against a team that's going to finish top four. Um, and just before we go into the match itself, we're sitting third in the EuroLeague ladder and cemented home court advantage. So we finished top four. We've got the home ground or home court advantage.
We've
Uh,
got top three sealed up.
Top three still
It's,
up.
yeah,
Okay, now Arkondas, our basketball expert,
yeah.
the floor is yours.
Yeah, great game to watch. We played really, really well. You know, I think the first quarter, actually we started like first couple minutes a little bit on the back foot. I think we were down like 11-6 or something, and I was thinking, oh gosh, is this gonna, be the same story? But we caught fire. None actually started the game scoring a lot of twos, playing smart ball. Jerine Grant was huge and stuff. Um, and we were up by 17 points at 32-49. And I was thinking, all right, this would take a big choke to lose. But then they finished the half at 41-49 and started the second half. And I believe it went to 48-49. And we went almost 9 minutes without scoring, which was quite weird. But then we buckled up again. Slukas and Brown didn't have good games. So, we were reliant on Grant and Nunn mainly. But I think a big positive was Yurtseven came back and had a really good game, and started to look like himself again, which is really key because he was starting to be like one of our X factors, before his injury and stuff. And obviously with Lasor still out, Ataman did say something about that if we do get to the Final Four, he'll probably be back. But in terms of playoffs, it's kind of touch and go. And, obviously it would be huge to have him back. But look, overall, we controlled the game, which was, I always say, a really key thing in the EuroLeague, to always have the lead, because every time we would be up normally in the game by like 7 to 10 points. Monaco would maybe have a quick run, cut it to 3-4-5, but they'd never get too close to us. So we had control of the game, which was really, really good. We made big time plays when we needed to. The defense was excellent as well against, by the way, Monaco is one of the best offensive teams in the league, and we held them to under 80 points on the road. We've struggled on the road. So this was a really big statement win, as you said, Sturge. And yeah, no, I'm very happy with it. Obviously, it locked up top three and stuff, and I think it was one of the best games I've watched the season from us. Um, apart from those like 8 9 minutes, we played pretty much a perfect game, and yeah, no, it was really solid.
Yeah. And the thing is, we can still get second. If Bayern Munich beat Fenerbahce at home, and Bayern Munich have been very good at home, and we beat Red Star at home, we get second. Because as it stands, us sitting in third, the sixth place team is Real Madrid. So I'm not too sure I want to be playing them, the best of five. We've had their number this year, but it's Real Madrid at the end of the day. They're
Oh,
still,
we lost to them on the road.
yeah, we smashed
Yeah.
them at home, but it's probably a team you don't want to go into a best of five against.
Uh, I would. It's the one team I don't. The thing is, even if we end second, we could play them out of. So this is the thing. It's it's literally. I'd say it's very like mumble jumble. Like the team that I want, in my opinion, is Bayern because Bayern have no playoff experience. Their home court, whilst they do play well at home, atmosphere really matters in the playoffs. They don't have a good atmosphere. I think we can easily. I can see us beating them 3-0 or 3-1. I don't think they beat us at the AEK. Whereas a team like FS or Real, those teams are dangerous. FS has been super hot, and we also tend to struggle against them in Turkey. We got okay, albeit we were playing really bad basketball this time, but we got smashed by them um, away. And so yeah, this is the moment where matchups are huge. You can play Real, if Barcelona's another team that we could play. And, we obviously haven't won in their stadium since that Diamandidis shot. So that's how long ago that was. Um, and they always give us trouble. We barely beat them at home this year. Even last year they gave us trouble. So it's going to be difficult. Whoever we play, it will be difficult. I
And
think
fifth and sorry to cut you in, between fifth
ours.
and 10th, none of those teams are locked in.
Mm.
None of those positions are safe. So
Anyone could play anyone.
change. Yeah, it's going to change. And out of those teams, and you are correct, I want to avoid that all cost. FS, Real Madrid, and Barcelona.
And Paris. I
Paris,
don't know if that's possible, but if we play Paris, that would be maybe the worst.
Paris. I'd like to see them in a best of five. What would happen there? I don't think they're going to catch fire with their shooting in a best of five.
You
Uh,
hope not.
but it's your Barcelona, your Real Madrid, it's teams with pedigree, with experience. Those are the kind of teams you want to avoid in these best of fives.
Thing is, there's a chance we're going to be playing. We mentioned how we don't want Real, Barca, or FS, but I think there's a high chance we're going to end up with one of them.
Yeah, well, Red Star depending as well. But if we beat Red Star, it's fine. We should be um we should avoid them. And sorry, we've just paused up, we've locked up. So we just had a bit of technical difficulties there, but yeah, look, I even Red Star, if we beat them, we can avoid them. They're
We
probably
obviously play them. We play them next week, this coming
yeah,
week, so that's going to be
in a
telling.
in
But
a best of five series in their hostile ground, especially with their ties with Orly, you probably another team you want to avoid in a best of five as a
I
Panathinaikos.
think I'd honestly rather them than Barca, Real, and FS. Though we've beaten them 2 years in a row in Zvezda. Now they've lost like 5 or 6 home games as well. That I've seen that their atmosphere is very hostile. Don't get me wrong, but I've also seen that when they're not playing very well in a game, it takes a lot for the fans to start get going again. Because I watched their game against FS, I believe it was Friday night, and to be honest, their atmosphere wasn't insane. So I think to be honest, like Real and Barca, FS are strong, but Real and Barca are the two we just don't want.
They actually lost at home in a normal league game.
There you go.
Interesting. Yeah, against not it's not even Partizan. They lost against a team called Spartak.
Mm.
Yeah.
And for the last games, we've got
Ooh.
it's going to be interesting. We have no idea who we're going to play because Partizan plays Real Madrid in Partizan. So obviously they have nothing to play for, but that's still not going to be an easy game for Real. So they could drop down. I mean, ideally, if you had to do like a tier list from some of the teams, Real, Barca, FS, Bayern, Red Star, what would be your preference?
When you look at that, definitely Bayern Munich would be the one you'd hope for. Then I'd go Paris, then Red Star. I'd probably say Real over Barca just because we can't beat Barca away.
Yeah, that's fair. I think Real Madrid, though, they're kind of like this season. If you play
It's
them,
probably the last team I want to verse.
yeah, no, none of these are going to be easy. Obviously, last year we saw how difficult it was. We played Maccabi, who were a really good team last year, and we were on the road. We almost lost that series 3-1. We were really up against it, and we pulled off a brilliant comeback. But I think sometimes people forget it's not a 7 game series. You can win a 7 game series in six, and you can say, okay, yeah, we kind of dominated that series, but it's only a 5 game series. So 3-2 is, very common. You could nick one up there, they could nick one there, and then you can go to game five.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. In other basketball news, so we beat Betis Steadis as well. I think that was the final league game.
That
And
was game one.
oh, game one. Yeah, it
Mm.
was a comfortable 20-point lead. Just really give the boys some minutes, obviously, warm up because we know the final is going to be Olympiacos. But the big news which came out during the week, and I'm actually happy for this one because I think he's a stud. Is our links to Toliopoulos from Aris. He's also part of the Greek national team. He can score. When he catches fire, he can score. I think he'd be a good offensive threat, just especially from the 3-point line. 3-point, he can be a threat. So um, there's links to Toliopoulos, and yeah, I'm all in for
But
that.
also, the Greek national team also right now is actually missing some 3-point shooters, you know? And I mean, I think also there's obviously a lot of rumors with Stojakovic and who he's going to pick. But if he picks Greece, that would be a
I think
really
the
good
last
thing
time
for
I
us.
read, he was heavily leaning towards Serbia. I know
It's
that
weird 'cause I
really,
have mixed reports. I heard that he was heavily leaning towards Greece.
yeah.
So who knows? I think your mate Nico, the other Nico in the chat, was talking about how he's possibly linked to us. I don't know.
We'll wait and see on that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Apart from that, because there wasn't a lot of the soccer stuff going on, does anyone want to raise anything before we call it a end?
Good luck to both teams. Last games kind of well for the BC obviously of the EuroLeague regular season and the FC until the Easter break. Just keep fighting. Show that Panathinaikos mentality that never give up. Always fighting. Here. And yeah, I mean, obviously it's crunch time now. Basketball about to be playoffs. We've got the last 4 games of the football playoffs as well, so it's really make or break. So just keep fighting, and hopefully the fans are all behind them. I know, especially in the basketball, I've seen already game one and two in the playoffs have been sold out, which isn't a shock. But in the FC as well, hopefully we can start to play a bit better and more confident and stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, I definitely want to see more fight from the first minute until the end, not in patches and not playing behind, especially in the scoreline, playing from behind. So,
agreed.
all right, gents, as always, pleasure. Thank you, Arkondas. For everyone
Thank
else,
you.
thank you for listening in. Don't forget to give us shout outs, comments, shares, everything. And yeah, and follows. Thank you all. Goodbye.